From an artist in the south of France, April 2021. Thoughts from the riverbank. Post number 3. The Impressionists deal with new technological advances. Hi there, thanks for joining me for this third post in the series called Thoughts from the Riverbank. This time I want to talk about a very famous group of painters living in France in the late 19th century, the Impressionists. My name is Jessica Langton and I'm a visual artist, a painter working and living in the south of France. Over the centuries, artists struggled with the complexity of painting landscapes, rivers and bridges. Gradually, this artistic journey brought them from depicting what they could see and touch towards a search for expressing the indeterminate and the intangible. The artwork was a way to express and to communicate, to encompass it all. The river, as water, as this river with this kind of water, the movements, the colour, the light reflected, the surface and the depths, the wetness, the weather, crossable, a bridge or a boat, not crossable, the wide expanse, the other side, an enigma. The human connection to the river, leisure, work, travel, philosophy, but also the mood, the emotion, the energy, the relationship, how I feel about this river, how it makes me feel. And also, this river as symbol, as metaphor, as nature, as God, or simply as poetry. Life is comparable to a river, a series of moments linked together in succession, giving the impression of one continuous flow, and the key to the philosophy of the Impressionist painters while capturing the light of a precise moment was the light's impermanence and movement across the surface of the subject. These painters return to the same landscape, view or subject over and over again, and yet each painting is different. The river of yesterday is not the same river as the river of today. The river of this moment is not going to be the same as the river of the next moment. The light changes continuously. Impressionism was born on the banks of a river, the River Seine, when a group of young artists, poverty-stricken and rejected by the mainstream, left central Paris for cheaper lodgings and peace of mind. They were best exemplified as the artists who planted their easels out on the banks of the river and painted spontaneously with dabs of brilliant, vibrant oil colour, a vision of the moment captured and the disturbing disintegration of the surface in a myriad of coloured brushstrokes. Look at many of the works produced over those years, the chosen subjects. Then look at the context. These artists chose fleeting moments in time, dancers, steam from an engine, the flow of horses and carriages on a road, hair in a breeze, waves on the sea, wind in the leaves, passing clouds, a sinking sun. Impressionism, however, emerged alongside the massive expansion of industry, of the railway, of the provision of services, water, coal and telecommunications. Paris was a city awash with social turbulence, a restless flow of culture and intellectual exchange and evolution. By the 1880s, social life was a flutter, change in the air, movement speed, faster connections, engines, steel constructions. Impressionism emerged at the same time as photography and just before the birth of the moving image. In the 1850s, photography became accessible to a wider public and portraits, miniatures, photographic calling cards were popular. A huge wave of photographic influence arrived in society. The chemical processes could create velvety rich surfaces, but the images were monochrome. The results were static and very formally posed. But the influence of photography was massive, like a wave washing across society. And by 1895, les Frères Lumière, whose family business had been the industrial production of photographic materials, had developed the means to film and screen the first moving picture presentation already. From our perspective now, it is difficult for us to understand the exciting newness of the Impressionist perspective. Why was it so perplexing and disconcerting and exciting? Today we can perhaps begin to relate to the sense of change and upheaval caused by these new technologies, new advances in image making, the effect of photography on ways of seeing. The speed of evolution and influence of digital imagery is exciting and disconcerting for us too. "30 years ago, when I first arrived in France, I spent several summers sketching and painting out in the landscape. Photography was easy, we thought so anyway, with a camera and a film, rolls of film in your pocket. Development was very expensive, however, so I took my photographs very carefully and I counted my frames. Digital advances, creative programs, and the possibility of working up processes and artwork very fast on the computer screen has profoundly influenced and changed the way I feel. I love using technology and I love trying to find ways to develop my visual art with it. I easily enhance my photos on my phone or delete the dozens that didn't come out well with a flick of my finger. Now I appreciate more than ever how gestures of my hand holding a brush, traces of ink across a sheet of paper, and mark making are definitive, almost impossible to eradicate or alter. How my images are made up of many, many layers and over a very long period of time. Sometimes what looks spontaneous is the result of many hours of work or many trials and errors. I find myself drawn to juggling between the spontaneous and the slowly constructed. I feel like the more things seem to advance, and quickly, the more we are also connected with something historical or ancient. The Impressionist movement reinvented painting at a time when new technologies were predominant, almost overwhelming. Painting in France has existed as a human activity, a form of expression, a language of communication, and a tradition for at least 20,000 years. We have the proof. Just check out the Lascaux cave paintings. How will it be reinvented in the face of the digital revolution? It's possible that the people who are reinventing it are right in the process of doing so right now, and we won't actually know that their work crystallised the future of painting until we can assess it as art history in 100 years' time. Even after a few years, hindsight brings great wisdom. And next time I will be mulling on a few philosophical ideas that inspire me. Please do not hesitate to contact me on my website www.jessicalangton.com.